Hey, I'm Mark. Good to see you again. Christmas break. Waiting on the new year? Hey, let's get 2020 in our rearview mirrors. So early on, in the life of history teacher gone rogue, I did a series of nuclear holocaust movies inspired by the Cold War. These were some of my most successful videos. In fact, my video on the movie Threads is still continually in my top 3 from week to week, even after 15 months. Something that more than one commentator has suggested is that I look at a film from 1983 called Testament. Let's take a look at when PBS went nuclear. Let's look at the movie Testament. I'm watching this for the first time, and I'm going rogue. Testament is based on a 4-page story written by Carol Amon in 1981 and was originally produced for the PBS series American Playhouse. Paramount Pictures acquired the rights to the movie and gave it limited release in the United States on November 4th, 1983. The film grossed a little more than $2 million. It received positive reviews from critics that saw it. Roger Ebert called the film powerful and stated that it made him cry, even when watching it a second time. The film's leading player, Jane Alexander, was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Actress. Jane Alexander and William Devane play Carol and Tom Weatherly, parents of 3 preteen children that live in the fictitious town of Hamlin, California. Tom works in San Francisco, 90 minutes away. Carol is the prototypical 1980s mom. She stays home with the kids and is intensely active in their lives. At the beginning of the movie, she's helping direct a play at her younger son's elementary school class, their version of the Pied Piper. About 20 minutes into the film, Tom's at work in San Francisco, and the 3 Weatherly children are watching TV while Carol checks messages on the answering machine. Tom calls, saying he's gotten off of work early and is on his way home. A few moments later, the channel the kids are watching loses its feed. A newspaper reporter in San Francisco, Cleet Roberts, that guy that did those episodes of MASH, he announces that they've lost contact with New York and that a series of nuclear explosions have been detected on the East Coast. He's replaced by an emergency broadcast system tone, then a message to stay tuned for a message from the President of the United States. Before the President can speak, though, a brilliant flash comes through the window, and Carol and the children huddle on the floor. Unlike other Cold War, nuclear war movies, there's no on-screen nuclear explosion in Testament, no big money special effects, no buildings are reduced to rubble, people don't dissolve into skeletons, there's no mushroom clouds. There's only the brilliant flash from the direction of San Francisco. The story is not about surviving the blast. Hamlin's 90 miles from ground zero, so the challenge is going to be surviving the fallout, both literally and figuratively. We see the flash of a single nuclear device. Reality is that during the Cold War, the Soviets committed multiple missiles to a single target, just in case one failed. So the single explosion over San Francisco is not likely. Plus, there are multiple targets across the Bay Area. Let us suppose that fictitious Hamlin is 90 miles south. Well, that's about the area of San Jose, which even in 1983 was a high-value target for a Soviet nuclear attack. 90 miles east of San Francisco will still be Contra Costa County, which includes another important target for the Soviets, Lawrence Livermore Labs. 90 miles north of San Francisco is about the area of Santa Rosa. If Cleet Roberts' reporting is correct, and this is an all-out nuclear war, the Weatherlys would have seen multiple 10 or 15 explosions from the direction of San Francisco, and from other directions as well. Hamlin would have suffered more damage than it did. Certainly not like Sheffield and Threads or Lawrence, Kansas in the day after. But some windows would have been broken, and some structures would have been toppled over. When the attack is over, people emerge from their homes and take stock of their situation. There's an oddly sunny sky. We meet the Pitkin family. Phil, played by a young Kevin Costner before he was the player to be named later in Bull Durham. And Kathy, played by young Rebecca De Mornay, before she rode Tom Cruise on the before she rode a train with Tom Cruise in Risky Business. With them, their infant daughter. In the film, there are no wide shots. Everything is shot close up. We only know what the local community knows. There are no signs of devastation outside of Hamlin, no wide shots of bombed out San Francisco or the destruction of the Golden Gate Bridge. The only thing anyone knows about the outside world comes from Henry, a ham radio operator. He's contacted a few places, among them Santa Rosa and Visalia, the city I grew up in. But after a few days, the radio in Santa Rosa goes silent. The night after the attack, Carol has all of the children in her bedroom. When they sit down to breakfast, the youngest son, Scotty, complains that the milk tastes bad, and the kids complain of dirt in their dishes, the first indication that things cannot return to normal. The milk, we assume, has been infected with radiation, and the dirt in the dishes, we assume, to be nuclear fallout. Larry, a neighbor boy, arrives asking if he could stay with the Weatherlys until his parents get back from San Francisco. They aren't coming back, Larry. Carol takes him in as one of her own. The town decides to make a go of it, attempting to continue police and fire service. Carol's daughter, Mary Liz, continues her piano lessons. A teacher tells a town meeting that we didn't cancel school when the president was assassinated. We mourned and then went on. The school puts on its rendition of the play The Pied Piper of Hamelin. At the end of the story, when the mayor asks where the children have gone, Scotty Weatherly, playing the lame child of the play, replies, "Your children are not dead. They will return. They're just waiting until the world deserves them." Those in the audience smile and clap. Most of them cry. Maybe things can be normal again. In a scene that may have gotten Kevin Costner his next role, Carol comes across a grief-stricken Phil Pitkin carrying a dresser drawer. He's been told that in order to save wood, they should use what they already have, and then says, "She'll fit in there." We discover that his infant daughter has succumbed to radiation sickness, and the drawer is going to act as her coffin. Later on, Carol enters the bathroom in the Weatherly home and pours bottled water into a sink. She then grabs Scotty, strips him down, sets him in the pool, and washes him. When she lifts him out and comforts him with strokes with a washcloth, we see that the water has turned brackish, red and brown. In the next scene, a priest is laying Scotty to rest. The death rate picks up as many members of the community die. The cemetery fills up, and the town resorts to having to burn the dead bodies. Larry, the adopted neighbor boy, curls up in a little ball and dies. Ham radio operator Henry dies. Weatherly's daughter, Mary Liz, dies. Mike, the gas station owner, dies, and his son, Hiroshi, is invited to live with the Weatherlys. Carol can no longer take being surrounded by constant death. She seals herself up in the garage with Brad and Hiroshi and starts the car with the intention of ending the nightmare by carbon monoxide poisoning. She then turns the car off and tells the kids she can't do it. The three go inside the house and celebrate with graham crackers with candles in them. Brad asks his mother what they should wish for. That we remember it all, the good and the awful. That we never gave up. That we were here to deserve the children. The film ends with home video of a birthday party for Tom. And roll credits. So let's put the film in its historical perspective. The film was one of a number of nuclear war films released in 1983. Special Bulletin, War Games. 2 weeks after Testament was released, ABC showed The Day After. A few months later, in 1984, the BBC presented Threads. This was the height of the Cold War, and people were wondering what would happen if nuclear brinkmanship went bad. Testament doesn't show the mass destruction that would come along with a nuclear blast. The Day After showed what would happen to those at Ground Zero in Kansas City. Threads showed what happened to those at Ground Zero in Sheffield. Many people now live in suburbs and even the exurbs. I grew up in the aforementioned Visalia, California, 40 miles from the high-value Lemoore Naval Air Station. A blast that would have taken out Lemoore would not have reached Visalia. We were in the same position as those people in Hamlin. Death wouldn't be instantaneous. It would be slow and painful. There are a couple of significant omissions left out of the post-nuclear world of Hamlin. There's no nuclear fallout falling from the sky. The temperatures don't fall due to a nuclear winter. There are no streams of refugees coming into the city. All those things would have distracted from the focus of the story. A mom leading her children through difficult times. See, the story's about Carol, the prototypical 80s mother. Her character wouldn't play well today. Carol should have her own job, and those kids should be put in a government-run daycare. Instead, Carol is a nurturing mother. Her job is to stay home, to ensure the health and security of her family, and to be actively involved in all of their activities. She makes breakfast and does the laundry. She helps direct the school play. She answers honestly when Mary Liz asks what it's like to make love. She sacrifices her own limited resources to take in Larry and then take in Hiroshi when they become orphaned. She comforts her children in their last moments and then sews bed sheets into shrouds when they die. She's a romantic. The film is intercut with home movies shot before the attack. She freaks out when she can't find the bear that she wants to bury with Scotty. In a discussion with Brad about whether or not they should leave Hamlin, Carol gives a lot of really good reasons why they should, then ultimately concedes, "This is our home." Testament, not as in your face as The Day After or Threads. As you go away from those two movies, you're spent. You leave Testament sad, but maybe a little bit hopeful. The film leaves Carol and Brad and Hiroshi in limbo, but believing that Carol Weatherly's resolve will see them through, and that they'll once again deserve the children. Well, thanks for coming by. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. If I did it right, you did both. Have you seen Testament? Am I correct in my analysis? Give me your thoughts in the comment below. I appreciate you coming by. I won't quit my day job. And the next time you're watching something post-apocalyptic, remember me. I'm Mark Haggard. I'm a history teacher, and I've gone rogue.